Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Grass to Other Maulers. I'm Dave Forrest with my good friend
Harvey Lowe.
And in today's episode, we're going to talk about Harvey's Cant Z 1015. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. You did. Wow. Building 109s, and he's now an expert on
Look
Cant.
at that.
Right.
So we talked a little bit about this in the last episode as a bit of an intro. So this is an all resin kit. It's 70-second scale.
Yes.
It's a very unique subject.
Yes.
Only one was built.
Only one was built. Yeah. And we will talk about a little bit about the history, but I think this episode can focus on building resin kits. In fact, I was at Heritage Con speaking with Aaron Skinner and Tim Kidwell from Fine Scale Modeler, and we were chatting. Like I contribute to them a fair bit, and I said to them, "Would you guys be interested in an article on some rare resin kit?" But the angle would be perhaps how to build resin kits, which is very different from plastic, and they were interested. So I'll be sending them something, maybe not on this one, but in some other subject, because this is
Yeah, and I know we kind of joked around a little bit before about how I would never build a resin kit, and that's mostly true. it's mostly true. But there are some like I do have like a Hansa Brandenburg. I think it's the 12, the biplane one.
Yeah.
The float plane, 48 scale resin.
Really?
From I think it's from Copper State Models.
Oh.
Before they got into plastic, they had a line of resin.
Yeah.
And you just don't have.
No.
We can't find. I mean, that's the appeal, right? The
That is
resin kits are subjects that you just can't find anywhere else.
You won't.
Now, my view is that there's plenty of other things that are competing that are easier to build that are out there in terms of like Tamiya kits and Ever kits and Tacom kits and Bang kits and whatnot. But it's nice to go back. I mean, there's a lot of old school. Foundational building principles that are coming to play here, right?
I call it the Airfix hardcover books of the 60s and 70s, right? That's what they did back then, hardcore building and scraping out of basswood and plastic. I think that you're right. You hit it on the nail that why would you build one of these? It's because of the subject. It's not because...
Not why would you? Why would you?
Would you?
Why would you build one of these? That's exactly right.
Resin's a tough thing.
It is.
But if, let's say you're a collector, and some of us are, of only 1/72nd Italian, well, you're only going to be limited with the injection kits you have. There's no way that you're going to get a complete set of World War II Italian aircraft without going, sorry to say, vacuum form or resin. They just don't make all of the aircraft. So that's the reason I think you want to make a decision. Now, here's the controversial thing we can talk about. If you are doing one of these and you decide, and contests aren't for everyone, but if you do decide to enter one of these, you are taking a chance because they are up against typical modern injection kits. There's no separate category that I know of for resin. There used to be for vacuum form. Those are now gone. So the fit and finish on these things is way harder than on a Tamiya and they're in the same category. So because judges sometimes may not know the kit, they're going to be judging. Here's my bailiwick. You're judging this against.
Don't get me started.
Yeah, right. Because then it's like fit and finish only, and they're not taking into account scope of effort. I think that's a whole new conversation. But I typically don't enter these in contests anyways. I just display them because it's always going to be a fit and finish problem with these resin kits.
But it's a beautiful. I mean, seeing it in person. I mean, it looks like it could be a plastic kit.
Yep, and hopefully that's the result that I got out of it.
Right.
But certainly it's an aircraft that's in my collection. I get a big, huge high when somebody says, like you said, what the hell is that? I love it because people.
I mean, I didn't think this was an actual set. This looked like something out of, like a fictional
sci-fi little thing.
It's like almost like it looks like a sports car. It's beautiful.
It's Italian. In fact, let's get into it now. This aircraft, folks, was there's only one built. It was designed in 1938 by the Italians, and it was, I think, originally based on a Cant 1007. So the wings and everything is a Cant 1007, but the fuselage is completely different. First flown in 1939, and there only was one. Basically originally had the same engines as a Cant 1007, a Piaggio, but then they upgraded the engines. I think these are now, they're different than a Cant 1007, therefore the nacelles different. They were Piaggio 12 R35s, much stronger engine. But I'm not going to go through the whole history. Because they were not reliable engines, they kind of like went away from manufacture these into production, and there's only one, and by the time 1942 rolled around, there was a renewed interest in this aircraft. Did you know, David, that they tested this as a torpedo aircraft against the Savoia Marchetti SM-79?
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
On trials, and this was comparable, if not exceeding the performance.
Wow. Now, was this this would have been a similar size, right?
Yes, similar size to the SM-79. They did not move it into production because of the problems with the engine. And so by the time 42 rolled around after the tests, they just, I guess the war was moving in the wrong direction for Italy at the time, and they just shelved it. And they never knew what happened to this aircraft. The Germans took over the factory, but no one knows what happened to the original airframe. So
and only one was ever built. Wow.
Only one is built. And only one kit of this is made, and Robert will flash the first photo. The kit of this is by a company called Old Wings Models. This manufacturer is no longer with us, and they produced, I think, a few kits, but I'm not sure of their other releases. Probably around the early 90s. So you're looking at, Dave, you lifted this up. It's pretty heavy.
It is, yeah.
It's not a 3D print resin model. It's old-fashioned, hand-molded resin. Now, a quick note of that. I like the new resin, but the modern 3D resin, if you did something like this, it's very brittle. Extremely brittle, and a lot of the new technology can get great detail, but these old ones, they are built like brick houses, so you won't have a lot of brittleness in the resin, except these smaller parts were actually stretched styrene and shaped. But the old resin compared to 3D resin, it's a little bit more robust, durable.
It's funny though, because the knock on resin is that it warps.
It does.
Yeah,
it can.
But this,
it could. Like if you look at this model, and I talked about fit and finish, it's not perfectly aligned because of the production way they.
No, but in terms of like this is a fairly old model.
Yes.
Like when was this?
I would say, to be safe, mid-90s.
Yeah. Okay. So you've already got almost 30 years.
Yes.
So if it hasn't warped now,
that's true.
Right?
That's true.
Probably, right?
Yeah. Except I would say, and I've built a couple of resin biplanes. Those can, because the wing is so
thinner,
thin.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like I know this. Like I bought some Edward resin propellers for some of the 109s.
Oh.
And
okay.
I threw out the resin propellers because they were all warped. So the plastic ones are actually better.
They are. The injection ones are better.
Yeah.
Even this kit, if you line it up, it's probably like 0.5 millimeter off. And again, this is the reason why I don't enter these in shows, because, I mean, it's all about fun, I get it. But let's be real, you want to have judges recognize that these things are not easy to put together, but
it depends on the experience of the judge.
Yeah,
and to take this into effect, and is this
it's got to be a judge that knows what they're looking at.
Like you put this up against the Tamiya kit.
Yeah, it's gonna lose because then the judges are measuring it. Oh, it's out.
Yeah,
and that's another conversation.
Yeah, and 1, 2, 3, you're looking for errors.
You got to love the aircraft and have it in your collection. If you're gonna do one of these.
But competition isn't everything.
No, for sure. Sure.
So,
but this one too, that's resin propellers, and if you look closely, they're a bit crooked. I don't have that. I want it in my collection. I don't want this thing took me maybe 2 months. It's not a long time.
It's a beautiful looking air. Like it really is. It's striking.
And so the first photo that Robert showed is the box art from the kit, and it's a pretty basic kit. The one by the way, a shout out goes to Joe.
So can you find these anymore?
Very hard on this one. So
you can't find it. You just can't.
You just can't
find these.
You can't find it. We're going to get a lot of emails from Italy.
There's going to be.
There's going to be a lot.
But
of
there's more coming, so it's good. It's good.
Shout out to Joe from Ottawa who kindly donated this kit to me. Thanks, Joe. So here's this photo now shows the contents of the kit that Robert's going to flash.
Good grief!
Look, it's look at the resin gates. Now, one thing is, look, that resin fuselage is one piece. So all you got to do is remove a little of the excess resin on the fuselage spine, but it's pretty clean. And no, by the way,
pretty straight.
It's pretty straight. And when you're dealing with these models, because the gates are so thick, you in some cases you have to use a saw. I have a Microlux little hobby saw that you can buy.
Is that like an electric?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a little mini hobby table saw.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of running this thing through.
Yeah, you can get them off Micromart.
Okay.
Right, I bought it off them. It's like, okay, it's not cheap, but
yeah. So right there, resin kits are out.
It's hard,
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and you cannot use that.
It's a little snipper on a nice brand new kit.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes, true. These gates were so thick you couldn't even snip it. So, but you want the model.
But yeah, it's a unique subject.
Unique subject. So.
That's something like the fact that they can get like that one piece.
It's brilliant.
That's good. That's good resin. That's not easy to do.
It's a difficult kit, but it's a beautiful kit in terms of the resin, and it's held up for all these years. And if you are working with resin, like we talked about in your episode of 109s, you got to make sure your health and safety. Always wear a mask, especially when you're sawing on a table saw this stuff. Don't do it in the house. I have my Microlux. I do it outside.
Yeah,
because
that's a great point.
Kick up a lot of resin dust. You do not want it. That stuff's like
asbestos. That will give you cancer.
It will. Don't breathe this stuff. So.
And so, just on that note, so I'm assuming like when you're I mean, cutting it off is a bit of a chore, and you have to do that outside. And there's a lot of dust created. But when you're doing the sanding and you're just kind of correcting some of the shapes, is that I'm assuming you're doing some wet sanding to keep the dust down?
Have to do
that's
wet
the
sanding.
best way. Yeah.
You can do it inside wet sand.
Yeah.
Then you're okay. You don't need a mask, in my opinion.
Now, do you wear gloves when you do that, or do you just...
No, I just use them in bare hands.
Okay.
Right. And here's this photo shows the actual instructions. Look, that's typically 1960s type of instruction.
Wow.
Where
no torpedo.
No. Well, the kit puts an X on the torpedo when in actuality they did test it with one. Now, why they did that, I don't know. And again, maybe some of our modeler friends and researchers in Italy can...
Did they actually provide a torpedo with the kit?
Yes, they did.
They did, huh?
They did, but it was pretty bad.
But they said don't put it on.
Don't put it on.
Because it's really bad.
Probably.
Because we screwed up the molding on this.
But you can find photos with them carrying this aircraft carrying a torpedo in the trial tests against the SM-79. It is not an easy kit to put together, as you can see. You see the horizontal stabilizers, the wings. There's no assist in putting them in the fuselage.
That must have been a very difficult airplane to land because of the length of the nose in front of the fuselage.
Yeah, you know what? I never thought of that. Right? Yeah.
Like that's wow.
And you'll notice that the beauty of this kit is that you can see the instruction shows the top of the fuselage spine is one piece. There's no seam to sand off. See, it's I love the way
it looks great. I mean, you did a great
the side
job. It's seamless.
It's seamless.
It's seamless.
It's seamless.
Literally seamless. Nicely done.
These things also have problems with the landing gear, which resin, even the 3D resin, is still extremely brittle, even with this old technology. And some companies reinforce them with metal rods. And this one did have a bit of thin rod in there, so that was really nice.
Oh, embedded into the
Embedded into it.
Wow, nicely done.
So here's a picture typical of the parts that you'll get in this kit. You can see there's a lot of flash in resin, so you got to take care of that. That's actually parts of the undercarriage, so it gets pretty tricky. Here are the propellers. This photo shows the propellers. They're a bit warped. If you do have warped resin, I actually use boiling water. Boil the water and slip these suckers in there for 5 to 10 seconds.
In actual boiling water?
Boiling water.
Really?
Boiling water.
And that doesn't damage
No.
or melt it or.
No, well, I wouldn't do the boiling water over the stove boiling, but I'd boil the water, put it in a cup or a dish.
Oh, so it's 3 degrees below boiling.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's freshly boiled water, and then that'll get the.
Got it.
And then immerse them in cold water right away. I've never had a problem. They're pretty.
So just to make sure I understand. So put them in the hot water.
Yep.
Get them to where you want them to be.
Yep.
And then put them in cold water
Yes.
to get them to stay there.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
But I always use boiling water, and you can.
And they
see,
look. I was looking at the props because I was thinking about that experience I had with the Edward resin, and they're pretty.
They're not bad.
They're
But
not
again, if you were to do, I'm just saying, you go to the IPMS Nationals and these guys are putting the rulers in it's going to be a little off.
Yeah, but it's not. Not terrible.
not-
I mean, for 30-year-old resin, it's
pretty
it's
good.
pretty good.
This photo shows the spine. Look at that. It's beautiful. There's no interior. See?
Yeah,
But that spine is beautiful and it just fits right in.
it's fantastic.
There's no canopy clear parts though.
But you wouldn't bother putting an interior in this, would you?
Well,
I mean,
isn't it funny you ask? We're all ad lib on this show because the next photo, oh, what timing?
oh, there you go.
There's a very simple interior. Now, can you see it? Barely. So I just used styrene.
It's almost like putting an interior into a sub and closing it up, right? Isn't it? Like,
That's why they don't use screen doors on subs. You know what I'm saying? Just the water gets in there. So
I mean, you kind of.
you kind of if you had a light,
you could kind of see. I mean, but that's all you need.
that's all you need.
Really, just to suggest
See?
something in there. Look at you. Okay.
This photo shows it's 2 simple seats, some control columns, and a floor. There's nothing else. I don't even think I bothered with a detailed instrument panel.
Nice.
Now,
Here we go.
this photo shows how I get these appendages. Is that a word? Is that a correct word?
Tailplanes.
Yeah. Okay.
Those things.
So
We're
I
on the
use
models,
brass metal rods I just drill them into the wings. Now here's the trick. How do I get them to go in a fuselage? I pour some acrylic, and I take that assembled tail with the 2 metal rods in there, and I dip them in the paint. And then by eye I attach it to the fuselage, and the paint will leave a mark where you drill the fuselage so that the holes align into the
I
fuselage.
see. Very nice.
And it's a bit of a by eye thing, but again, you need that. You cannot just glue that with super glue. It'll break.
Yeah.
It just will not be strong. So this one shows the horizontal stabilizers, and the vertical one's already been installed.
And what type of CA glue did you use for this?
I just use the Zap.
Okay.
But you can use any super glue. If the only thing is, if you use super glue, you only have one chance at this for the alignment. So you could use 5-minute epoxy, set it,
Or slow setting.
slow setting super glue.
Right.
You could do that. This photo shows more or less the fuselage done with the cockpit in and the horizontal stabilizers in place. Now, this is where I do use some tools to enhance the recessed panel lines,
I see. Yeah.
right? So you just make them a little deeper because this old technology, it was a bit hit and miss.
Got it.
So you refine the panel lines, you refine the...
Now, did you have drawings to go back to understand where the line, or you just kind of, what was there, you just enhanced?
I was guessing at the... And by the way, this is a good point, David, that's why I have you here. There were no real panel lines on this thing. I made them up because I have no references.
Right.
Mind you, as soon as this thing's done, some modeler from Italy, here they are.
Yeah, to me it's coming out with one. If only.
Now, this photo shows the tail wheel, and you can see that even this, I had to go to the spare parts box because the ones with the kits are pretty bad. And you have to drill holes, put metal in there. You can't just use a resin, it'll break.
So that's a plastic, that's a
Yes.
styrene wheel with a reinforced with rod.
Correct. That's the photo shows that the wheel is in,
Nice.
and I tilted a bit
Yeah.
to give it a little bit of.
Yeah. A little bit of life.
Now this is where it gets ugly.
Oh my god.
You gotta prime these things.
Now is that like black?
Yeah,
super glue?
that's black super glue.
Wow. Okay.
So I can see where it is, and that's what's the brand of that stuff? I forget, but it's any dark color. I think AK.
Yeah, there's a few out there. There's
There's a
AK. There's Bob Smith. There's.
That's it.
What is it, Bob Smith?
It's the Bob Smith. Oh, you're good. Yeah, it's the Bob Smith stuff. Now I applied I I use Tamiya spray can, the fine white primer from Tamiya.
So sorry, I'm just thinking about going back to how you align the tail planes with the rods. So do you put the rods in?
Yes.
And then you dip them into paint,
Yes.
and then you try and fix them to the fuselage.
Yep.
Right.
You see the photo here? You
Yeah,
see
that's what you do.
See the black?
Yeah.
And then you see the black marks on the.
Now, because to me, I might be afraid of mucking that up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, would another option be, hey, I'm just going to put paint, like before I drill anything, put paint on the mating surface, line that up, and then use that to determine where the drills. Is that
that's another way of doing it.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
The other way is you can put a rod through the whole fuselage. I've done that too, so that the rod is symmetrical on both sides, and then you use that rod.
You did that on one of your the other
Yes.
Italian one, the
Yes.
48 scale.
The 48th Cant.
that
No,
a Cant?
no, that was the 48th
There's too many Cants.
Caproni.
There's too many Cants around here.
There's a lot of Cants.
There's a lot of Cants.
Yeah. Anyways, we're going to get moved off YouTube on that one. But yeah, you have to reinforce them. You have to reinforce these things because those wings are heavy, and there go the difficulty in getting the dehedral right. It's by eye. There's no way you're going to make a jig or anything like that.
That's a lot, but you can tell like the amount of work into just getting everything smooth.
I'm the only one with one. Just say,
Yeah.
right?
Now you've got what would you use for the actual windscreens?
Oh, we're going to come to that
Oh, okay.
in a sec.
All right. Well,
This photo shows the kit's engine detail now, and some of the parts were busted, so I have to use styrene. Another thing with building these limited edition cottage industry kits, so I use styrene rod for the exhaust because it busted and it wasn't in the kit. But you can see that I'm doing successive coats of the Tamiya primer, sanding down, and now I did not have a problem with this kit. But I did have a problem with one of the new Lem 132nd. I did a Key 32.
Oh
Mary.
yeah, you told me about this.
That's going in an upcoming issue of a magazine to be announced soon. And the paint wouldn't stick at all on the wings
Oh, the resin.
of the resin. It would not stick. Nothing I tried, a primer, it would beat up. I did let the manufacturer know, and I mean, they do beautiful kits, Lem kits from Ukraine. And they said it could be something in the resin, but the fix is I hand applied super glue on the surfaces with a brush. Of course, your brush gets thrown out. And then you have to sand that down. With the super glue on the resin, it's stuck. One of the problems
What a
with
pain.
resin. But
How'd you come up with that?
I just thought, well, if the glue sticks to super glue, and super glue sticks to resin, my wisdom, or lack of, says, let's try this.
That's a brilliant fix, actually. Well done.
Yeah, there you go. But you gotta put up with these things. This photo shows the aircraft pretty well finished with all the smoothing and little holes and bumps, and it's ready to be painted. The engines, you see the handsaw I have there? You can use a handsaw for these, and again, that's wet. That's a wet hand, like it's consistently put in a cup of water so you don't get the kick
So just to
up.
keep the dust down.
Keep the dust down. The engines weren't bad, and I used styrene for the firewall. So you gotta do these little things.
Now, did they come with firewalls in the kit or no?
No, that's why I had to put them in. So it just gives them a much more symmetrical fix to the engines. I love this carving guide tape, and I use that to guide my scribing of the wings.
Now, were you just reinforcing what was already there, or
There's nothing
there was
there.
nothing there?
There's
So this is
nothing
just
there.
your
It's making it up.
making it up.
I'm going to get a lot of emails. That's wrong. We talk about modulation. You talk about modulation. This is black basing. So the model was sprayed black, and then I do a bunch of squiggly, patterns. They're asymmetrical. They're random, and it's black basing, white with panel line black.
Just trying to create that contrast.
It's your choice. And here's this. I wanted to show you this photo first because you asked about the windows. The one thing I found about this is because it doesn't give you any clear parts. I use the micro. What's it called? The micro.
Oh, so there's no clear parts.
There's none. So I use the crystal clear. When it works on this scale, there's no clear parts in this. So here's the funny thing.
Oh.
So
no clear part. You stupid Cant.
Yes.
Come on, no clear parts.
No clear parts on this stupid Cant. So you can see that the super glue is going in.
Going down.
Right at the in every window pane, and it works nicely. But here's what happened. Because this, I would guess, my assumption is because this model, the entire cockpit is sealed. There's no air in there. In other words, there's no airflow once you start applying this crystal clear. So at the last step, when I applied the crystal clear, on the last panel would not settle. It would always look good when it goes in, but then as it dries, it just shrinks and it pops open. Weird. Because I think that when you use this, it needs some air in there. Do you follow?
From the inside.
Yeah.
So these windows were just gaps. There's holes.
Just gaps.
And you just kind of work this in.
Yeah, with the crystal clear. Yeah, it works in 70 seconds. You can actually. I've experimented.
So how does it maintain the surface tension to?
What I do is I use a toothpick, and then I put the crystal clear in there, just like you see in the photo here, and then I tip the model upside down and hold it upside down and let it.
So you're building. So and is one application enough?
Two maybe.
So you're just kind of building.
Yeah.
You're building. Like the first one, you might not have covered everything.
Correct.
And then you're building on top of
it.
And because you can't really see anything. It's a small. It doesn't really matter. But it looks. It looks like it's
pretty
glossy.
It's glossy, and you can see through it with a light, but it won't be your perfect.
Yeah, of course.
But it's good enough, and it works.
That's amazing.
And so again, it goes back to the art of modeling. You got to figure something out. You can cut them out of acetate. That's going to take forever.
That's interesting.
You're going to get fit problems. Now, I have experimented with this stuff. If you were doing, let's say, a 48th aircraft with circular fuselage windows, this technique will work with windows almost as large as maybe even. I've even made it work for just a little under a quarter of an inch.
Really?
You just keep
building it up.
But you have to do it in one go. You can't put one layer on, go next day, put another on. It looks cloudy. You have to do it all at once.
Oh, I see.
Right? And then tip the model upside, put a little more in, let it build up.
So you can't. So it's not something I can do one layer, let it be, come back like the next day or what. You got to do it all in one.
You got to do it all at once. Otherwise, it'll be cloudy.
That's crazy.
So
it's another reason not to bother these kids.
But again, guys, if you really want something unique. And again, the issue I never knew would have happened is one of the windows, I can't remember which one, the last one to be filled would never set correctly.
Probably because there wasn't oxygen.
Yeah, it's an oxygen thing.
So how'd you address that issue?
I literally had to drill a small hole in the fuselage and let the air in there, and then it worked.
So that's exactly what it was.
And then I had to fill that hole back up and refinish it. Isn't it insane? I looked all over the web. When you build a model using crystal clear, you probably have some opening in the landing gear because this whole thing is sealed.
Wow, that's amazing.
There we have the final model. You see it on the screen. You see it on the table here. It's Italian olive green. Oh, by the way, a shout out to Vince and Stefano from Stormo Magazine online. Those guys are always a great help to me. They know way more about Italian aircraft than I do. And if you are an Italian World War II aficionado, Stormo Online Magazine is one of my go-to. A fantastic discussion group. They sell unique decals. Vince is a great guy. I think he's a fellow Canadian. But I'm always going to them, and there's a couple of my articles on their site. Please support them. I always go to. They have color guides there. But they were the two of them being a great help to me. Like, what color do I paint it? Blah blah blah. There's another.
It's amazing that this is the finished product. If you look at if you go back and think about the journey.
Crazy. And the fact there's no decals in this kit. You have to go after.
You have to source. You have to source your own.
Yeah.
No decals and no windshield.
No.
Come on.
No. Yeah, I used I think Toro models, a few others.
Crazy Cant.
Yeah. Yeah, everything is, and I had to you see the Cant symbol? I had to modify that because that actually says Cant 1015. I took a decal and I had to white it out and literally hand paint the 5 instead of a 7.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So who would have noticed that?
Well, I would. There's another. It shows you the sleek lines of this.
It's a beautiful looking aircraft. Like there's no question.
Yeah.
Like it's a sexy looking.
It's a sexy looking aircraft. So there was the Cant 1015, the Cant 1007. I'm working on a Cant 1018.
Well, you're all about the Cant.
I'm also about the Cant, right? And there's the underside, which is like a gray. I think they call it grigio, but again, my Italian is pretty bad.
It's amazing.
But you know what? It's as best as I can do to get this model on my shelf. And again, it's just so many little symmetrical issues with it that I don't think it'd do well at a show because of the fit and finish approach, which I think needs to be modified. But that's a topic.
But it's a unique subject. I mean, again, competing's one thing, but having something like this in your collection that's rare, that's beautiful.
Here's the underside. And like you, Dave, I like a little semi-gloss.
Yeah. It looks, you know what, I mean, the pictures are good, but it looks even better. Like I don't know if the pictures do it justice.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
Yeah, there's got the tip of these markings.
And you can see the nice job on kind of letting the underlying modulation come through.
Tiny bit.
Now the green.
Yes.
You said the folks at Stormo magazine helped you out with the colors and whatnot. So what did you end up using for the green on this?
I actually used Tamiya paints, and I mixed NATO green with some olive in it, my own mix, based on what those guys were telling me in the
NATO
pages.
green. How'd you get your hands on NATO green? Sandy bought all the NATO
Sandy
green.
McCrory bought them all.
He bought all the NATO green.
He paints all his armor in native green.
It does, everything.
NATO green, yeah.
Any color you want, as long as it's
Except
NATO green.
it's NATO green.
Yeah.
He's been on our show, by the way, with the
Panzer Gray, 50 Shades of Panzer Gray.
Yes.
And the
we'll have him on again.
Yeah, we got to do the allied colors, the SCC colors.
Yep.
Seriously confusion color.
Yep.
Yeah.
So again, I probably missed a few accuracy issues on this, but an aircraft that who's going to know? And I think it's really cool looking, and it'll set nicely with my other Cants.
Now, are the propellers, the hubs and the propellers themselves, the blades, are they the same color?
They're all the same color.
They're all the same color,
I
right?
believe they're all the same color. And again, I'm guessing on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Really, I
Yeah.
am.
Well, who knows?
Who would know?
Than a
Yeah.
Cant aficionado.
Right. And I find that I like to do these old. Chris Meddings gave me Chris gave me the heartiest kudos. He said, Harvey, you can turn a piece of bleep into something, and I think that's one of the challenges.
Yeah. I mean, you think about the parts and the way the fuselage looked with all the the super glue on it and the various primers and Mr. Surfacers sanding it all back, right? That's nice.
If it's up to you, I mean, your Edward 109 is excellent. If you want to do that, there's nothing to say.
It's what gives you joy. At the end of it's a hobby.
Yeah, believe it or not,
And why do we do hobbies? Because they bring us pleasure in some way, right? They give us enjoyment.
Correct.
So
That's
it's whatever
correct.
whatever turns your crank.
Yeah, but this stupid Cant just really gave it to me. I just cursing it all the time.
It sure did.
Yeah.
I bet there was a few of those in there.
Yeah. But there it is, folks.
Beautiful product, beautiful end product.
Thank you.
Well done. Once again, it's amazing. I wouldn't. I think I'm a decent mauler, but I would not bother with this. I just couldn't. I just don't have it. It's not in me.
Now we have 3D models, which are really, really much easier to put together. So you may want to think. But then again, let me throw this one at you, Dave. What German World War II armor has not yet been done?
That I care about? None. Zero.
Okay, heavy
Tigers, Stugs, Panthers. Done.
Every variant's been done in injection.
Every variant, as far as I know, except for maybe some of the earlier.
Well, send us a comment, guys.
Panzer 4s or Panzer 3s,
Maybe.
But they were anything that saw any significant act really is.
Yeah, I think
that's subject matter you want for nothing, in terms of modern injection plastic. Like those I keep talking those Tacom Stugs.
Oh yeah.
They're I built 3 of
them.
them.
You bought the 1/16th.
I did. Yeah, I broke down because I was at Hamilton when we
Heritage Con.
At Heritage Con, we saw there was a couple of really nice 16 scale builds on the table.
Yeah.
And Andy's hobby headquarters was there, and they had a nice, great show rate on the the Das work.
You bought it.
And I broke down. I bought it.
Wow, 1/16th.
And it's massive. Oh my God, they're so.
Does that have interior? No.
A bit.
Maybe.
So enough to open hatches up where you can, but not completely open. So just enough to see in and to give you, and maybe you detail a little bit with some accessories, but.
Well, maybe we were talking about this earlier with Robert. Maybe what we should do, and I know there's a lot on the internet already on YouTube, but maybe we should just do a few quick kit reviews. People seem to like those.
Yeah.
Right? We're doing a little bit of everything. Today we're doing.
And I know. One viewer in the past asked, "Hey, would you guys ever consider doing a 16 scale?" And the answer at that time was like, maybe. But now it's more definitely yes.
I would. I have the 1/16th Japanese Tenket.
Oh right,
Yeah. I have that. It was a Type 94. I can't remember.
So I've only got two. I've got the Stug and I've got the Panzer One from TACOM. The Das work is basically a TACOM kit.
But getting back to resin, I think the only let's take 135th armor. The only 35th armor that I think is never been done in injection is probably Italian and Japanese weird stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Right? I know, what was it? WIP 3D, they do a lot of new 3D resin prints of Italian. But if you take like the Japanese stuff, the soft skins, some of those amphibian vehicles, they're still nothing.
And there's that, what's that Italian company that does all the really nice resin stuff?
Oh, Brock?
Brock. So there's some, like that. Those are kits I would buy.
I have a few.
And I have one, and I might, there's another one I almost bought that I didn't, and I'm kind of regretting.
Which one do you have?
I got one of the French ones, the French Renaults.
Yeah. I have the Samavante, the big one.
Yeah.
They're great.
So I might, and I know they're kicking up production again, so they're going to become more
resin
available.
again.
I would do, but that's a nice resin. This was not nice resin.
No.
Was it? Come on,
and
be honest.
It was not. And you have to make a decision if you're going to do this. What are the chances that a mainstream manufacturer will do it when you finish? You got to. Well, there's no way. I don't think anyone.
Like your T50.
Oh God, yeah. What T50?
Hobby Boss. Yeah, Hobby Boss is coming out with the T50.
Boss coming out with the T50.
Never saw that T50 again.
Yeah. I just ditched.
But this will never come out.
I don't think so.
It's a one-off build. It's Italian. There isn't a big market for it. None of the big manufacturers are going to go for this. They're going to pump out Messerschmitts, Tigers, Mustangs, Stugs, Shermans.
Yes. Do you know what I heard? I heard a rumor that they're finally putting out a 148th Hampton. I've heard.
Who's that? Injection?
Yes, you guys can add it in the comments. Somebody mentioned they're doing one in injection. I forget who it is. I'm sorry.
HK?
Might be. I don't know, but somebody, I've been reading it on the web. No Halifax yet, but that's why, except for the old Fonbury, Halifax. Yeah, but I would not venture into a resin kit of something that you may know will come out. Like if you have a big resin kit,
or if you do, you're really a masochist.
Very
much.
You love working with it, but somebody you don't want to build something you think something. And I think it's going to be those mainstream type of thing. Here's another one.
But they're running out of subjects. I mean, you think about it. Let's talk about this. You think they are kind of running out of subjects.
Yes, they are.
Like as much as I love the Messerschmitts and the Mustangs and the Tigers and the Stugs and the Shermans, like how many more releases can you have? Right, like even though, and like TACOM came out with the new series of Tigers with the Zimrit, which are gorgeous kits, beautiful kits.
Okay, well maybe we should stop because Robert's giving us the thing that the battery's going to go.
Oh, we might be dying.
It's time to change.
Time to change.
We'll continue this discussion next time around. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.